So, the day. We leave Ottawa fairly early in the morning, fly 3 or 4 hours north to Iqaluit, get to Iqaluit, and get unpacked. There's other planes coming in. The guide says, well, we're stuck because we're socked in by the weather. So that's when we went and did our exploration of Iqaluit. But finally, late in the afternoon, one of the guides came over and said, listen, the weather's okay now, you can take off. So, those are the Twin Otters, incredible aircraft. Those are the Beavers, the people who travel around up north. So we had to get 45 minutes or so from Iqaluit over to the Soper River. So of the 9 events, here is, I'm going to talk now briefly about events 1 and 2. So, event number 1. Guys said, okay, we're ready to go, load the planes, off we go. So that's what we did. So we took off, up into the clouds. Up, not straight up at an angle. I don't know how long it took, but sure as hell felt like a long time. Eventually, we burst through the clouds and leveled off. Beautiful sunshine. So we go along, everybody's happy, having a good time. So about 45 minutes into the trip, I figured it out. I said, the clouds are there. We had to come through them. We are here. Guess if we're going to land, we've got to go back down through them. All of a sudden, the pilot throttles back. Down he starts to go for seemingly an incredibly long time. So down, down, down he goes at whatever angle. Whoops, all of a sudden, he turns and goes back the other way. Down, down, down. Turns, goes back the other way. Down, down, down. Whoops, turns, back the other way, and a final turn, and we burst through the clouds. So you can see the mountain on the right, and there's one on the left that you can't see. I looked left and I looked right and I said, well, it's not that close, but it's close. So I turned to my buddy Al and I said, Al, have you ever read the book about the Lot Not Alive? About the people who got wrecked in the Andes? He just looked at me and shook his head. But anyway, so in we go. We land on that runway. I call it an escalator. I'm told it's not an escalator, but it's pretty bumpy. So I went up to the pilot, the guy with the red hair, and I said, well, that was pretty interesting, your approach. And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, it was. I said, well, I guess if you do it often enough, it becomes quite easy. He said, this is my first time here. The second event, so here's the deal. I'll show you the canoes later. The canoes are all over on the left, all knocked down. The skins, the struts, the paddles, the seats. We got to put it all together the next day. But it's getting late, so we're not doing it today. The guide said, all right, get your bags off, go set up your tents, and set up the kitchen. We'll wait for the other plane to come in from the Iqaluit, and we'll have dinner together. So we do that. And then, so dinner, we were doing okay. You know, we had steak and wine, and that was fine. So, all of a sudden we're missing somebody. I can't remember his name, but he was a lawyer from Manhattan. And he was a color-coordinated guy. Everything was Gucci or something like that, up in the north. So we can't find him. So he's in his tent. We can see all this movement, whatever. So the guy tried to coax him out of the tent, but he said, no, I don't want to come out. I'm happy here. So the bottom line to me is he had some kind of psychotic or psychological event. And the reason is, he just left Manhattan. When you get to the north, to the Arctic, there's nothing. When that plane took off, we were exactly in the middle of nowhere, dead silence, beautiful, beautiful mountains and terrain, but nothing. So this affected him. Anyway, he seemed to survive the night because he was there for breakfast. And that's great. So here we are with the canoes. This is laid on the second day or something like that because we've got the canoes assembled, as you can see. The bags are there, and we're ready to take off soon onto the river. Onto the river. Okay. This is just an example, like days after lunch or after breakfast, whenever it was, we'd have all the canoes ready, and we would head off onto the Soper River and go down the river. All right, day 2, event 3. This is our Inuit guide, the most experienced guide of the 3. So we're sitting doing something at lunchtime. He gets up, goes to the kitchen, comes back to where we're sitting, jumps onto the rock that we're sitting on, slips, sprains his ankle. Oh. And I don't mean just a twist, it's a sprain. So this guy, the most experienced one, is out of commission for 5 days. So it was a little shock to us. But anyway, that's the way it was. All right, so now here we are on the river. Now this is just a picture of the river. This is the Soper River. And the fellow in front is Al, my buddy. He said, I don't want to drive the bus. You sit at the back, I'll sit at the front. Okay, fine. And you can see the canoes in front of us. And the deal was, always leave enough room between yourself and the next canoe in case something happens. It'll become more important as we get to a further event. But here we are. We're going out on the first or second day or whatever. So all of a sudden we see a canoe pass us. Like we've pulled over for some reason, I don't know why. So in the canoe was our lawyer from Manhattan, all dressed, sharp as hell. Little guy sitting in the bow. In the stern is a huge school teacher from New England, 230, 240 pounds. He's sitting on the seat, up like this. So I said to Al, I said, that's not a good scene, because the center of gravity for that freighter was way too high. If they ever happen to hit anything or make a wrong movement, they're gone. Sure enough, bingo, over they go. Over they go into very, very cold water. So luckily, if you're close enough to shore, the water was maybe waist deep. Had they get in over their heads, I don't know what would happen. Interesting fact. So 1, 2, 3, or 4 canoes bypassed them, never even slowed down. So I said to Al, I said, hey, this is really serious. This is hypothermia stuff. There was just he, Al, and I, and the guy. I said, I waited for the guy. I said, we got to go over there and help these guys out. How exactly we did it, I can't remember, but we did it. We didn't get wet, so we got the canoes out, and these guys are shivering now. And I said, well, what do we do? I said, well, the first thing, we're above the tree line now. There's no wood, there's no fire. I said, get your gear out and get changed, get your clothes changed, you gotta dry off or you're in trouble. Anyway, so that's what they did. And so we continued our way. I was surprised about some of the people. Either they didn't understand it, let's say they couldn't understand it, but they didn't care. So now we've got just a few pictures that Sylvia will go through reasonably quickly, just to show you what is the terrain, what's the scenery. It's incredible, and remember, it's dead silent. There is nothing up there. There are no planes, there are no white noise, there's nothing. Beautiful rocks, vegetation, it's fabulous. Water everywhere. It's on great water. We'll see more of that in a while. That's the river. Lighting, gorgeous. Another shot of the water. So here we go. So I think we had 5 campsites, whatever, we were 8 days on the water. So wherever it was, every day, because we were meandering down pretty leisurely. So every day at lunch, we'd pull the canoes up, and we'd maybe drag the canoe up, turn it over, put our food on, just stoves, you know. So that was fun. This is just an idea of what we would do on those days. Okay. All right. Other shots of what we were doing. You see most of the group there, the canoes on the side. These are different spots. The river in the background. Incredible. Again, the only sound is the water. Here's the tent. Now, That's our makeshift tent where we cooked all the meals. You can see our Inuit guy, second from the right, his leg is up. He's still got a sprained ankle. Go back one. And I'm not sure I mentioned this, so the person that's behind him is the young woman from Australia who was there on her honeymoon with her husband and her mother. That's a different story. So there we are. So it's pretty loving, you know. It's out there. Top right is Al, my buddy, and the second guy from Maine. That's just me on the bottom right with some of the people. And another shot at one of the campsites. You can see one of our tents in the background. This one is a shot of our kitchen. The flag is the flag of Nunavut. It's a red Luncheon, pathfinders for the Inuit people. Up on the left corner, there's a blue star, which you can't see because the flag is furled. So that is either the North Star or to signify the wiseness of the elders. The white and the gold was there to signify the richness of the country. Here's some shots of the campsite. So here's the deal. We arrive where we're going to stay for the night, and the guy says, open up your tents and put them up wherever you like. Nobody cares. So you can see, so there's some people way up, some people really close to the kitchen. And it was whatever anybody wanted. Lots of place. That's our tent. That's the tent that I had with Al. It's all, the rocks are there because there sure was a lot of wind. And here's a shot from a little farther distance, but you can see the distance between the end of the campsite. So now we get back to a little bit of action. There were a series of rapids, and the deal was every time we got to rapids, we had to pull in, as we had to go and scout to try to figure out, was it difficult? Was it not difficult? Was there a channel to follow? Whatever it was, but no fooling around, because again, we're novices. We're not good at this, and our main guy is not doing very much. So here is a So here is a class 1 rapid. It's not. No, it's not really bad. So you can find the channel. But to back up a little bit, we are novices, and we're so much novices that the guy decided on our second or third day, he said, listen, I'm going to have to teach you how to maneuver a canoe. Well, that's wonderful. So he took us into a sheltered bay, talked to us for 20 minutes. He said, do this, do that, do this, do that. J-stroke, draw that. Fine, you're okay. Well, that's good if you're in a sheltered bay. It's not so good if you're out in the current. But that's what it was. That's our introduction and our experience learning how to drive a canoe. Here's a class 2 rapid, a little bump here, like you don't want to bump into that big guy on the left-hand side. So again, we're back up on the promontory because the river's down, figuring out how to go, where to go. And we did okay. We followed, again, strung out in canoes, lots of space between, follow the leader, down we go. Now, there was one set of class 3 rapids on this trip. And this is where we pulled in before we went down the class 3 rapid. And again, whoops, you can see our Inuit guy, well, he can't get out of the canoe, like he's stuck there. Okay, so then we pulled in, and that's the class 3 rapids. So I'll come to the guy. So the guy was up, the main guy was up, and he said, he's looking down at the water, and he said, well, you see over there? He said, that's the channel, and that's the way it goes, whatever, that, you know. Does everybody see it? We said, oh, yeah, sure. No idea what he's talking about. So he said, I'm going to show you how to do it. So down he goes, and he paddles down the channel. He's an expert at the canoe. And he said, I'll come back a little bit. I don't know how he did it, but he came back up a little bit. He said, just in case there's some problems. So he comes back up a little bit. And on the next one, there's our second guy. So he's standing there with that pole. Now, what was he going to do with the pole? Maybe keep us off those rocks? Like, I don't know. Now it's time to go. First canoe out, second canoe out, third, fourth. Then it's our turn. So you have to wait, and the guide said, don't get too close, because this is class 3. Fine. So off they go. And it's a long way ahead. So we start going down in the channel, and Al said he's fine, I'm happy now. All of a sudden, we noticed the first canoe in front of us has turned sideways on some of those rocks and is jammed. The water is pushing the canoe into the rocks, and what you're supposed to do is to lean into the water and let the water bounce you over the rocks. But it's counterintuitive. And we're novices. I have no idea what's going on. The guide has come back, and the guide has managed to get in behind the canoe, and he's trying to help them off the rocks. But they can't do it. So we're coming down. We're coming down the channel. At some point, Al says, Glenn, do you see them? I said, I see them, but I can't do anything with it. They're in the channel. I'm not going to those rocks. I'm not going to those rocks. So we're getting closer and closer. I tell you what, when we get right close to them, I'm going to yell, draw. You draw on the left side, I'll paddle on the right side, and with any luck, we'll go around them. And it was pretty serious. There was serious adrenaline going on here because we're 2 grown men. The canoes are full. We hit that canoes full on. Either we go straight through, or we do huge damage to 1 or 2 canoes, maybe personal injury, and maybe we hit the guy who happens to be standing inside the canoe. So as you get closer, their eyes were getting bigger. You can see their eyes getting. So now we get from here to Sylvia, and we're moving with the current. So he yelled, draw. He draws, I paddle. Magically, mystically, the canoe went around. So that was the hairiest experience, which could have been very serious. Broken leg, broken whatever, in the water. Now we're 3 days or so away from Kimberley, and nobody else around. So here's a few more pictures. Now we're on one of our hikes for the day. Fossils. Everybody, we used to walk for 4, 5, 6 hours. Here's Al with his bug net on. Bugs are everywhere. Mostly when you're seeing tourist advertisements, they don't show the bugs. There are bugs. Again, the guy in blue is the guy from Gucci and Manhattan there. So they're all examining things. Here am I leaning on a fairly old Inukshuk. I think it's been there a long time. This is on one of our excursions. And this was really interesting because see on the left slide, there are a group of people on the top of the ridge. Well, that's our gang because there's nobody else around. So I would say it's an hour and a half, some way to get up there. This waterfalls was fed by a glacier which is over the hill. It's incredible. It's so pure, running fast, phenomenal water, and there's still some of the unmelted snow in the middle of July. And on the right-hand side is a runoff of the falls into the Soper River. We got close enough to the falls that we were getting sprayed on, so it was great. So I'm taking a break. Just on that one, so again, this is July, so I've got waterproof boots, I got rain pants on, I got pants underneath, there's my rain jacket red, I've got 2 or 3 layers, including my fleece, a bandana, and my tilly hat. Yeah, I had to stay warm. So now, it's, this is what's called the Soper Falls. Well, they're not really falls, but it's a gorge. So the river has narrowed down into this incredible gorge, roaring with water. But we can't get down it in our canoes. Maybe some kayakers could, I don't know. So here's our first and only port. So the guide says pull in, we pulled in up above and said, we have to portage around the falls. So that's what we did. So Al and I jumped out. We immediately made 1 or 2 trips down, within half an hour each trip or something. Packs on our back, canoes on our shoulders, and down we went. So we're not going to set up tents yet. That'll come later. We looked around and we didn't see too many people coming down. So we better go back, see what's happening. So we went back. Here were 3 couples from the States, and their concept of a portage was somebody's on the front of the canoe on the left side, someone on the back of the canoe on the right side, all the bags still in the canoe, and they're trying to lift the canoe and walk them down the path. Well, you can't do it. It's way too heavy. Plus, it's easy to have the bottom of the canoe fall out, and if you happen to hit a sharp rock at the bottom of the canoe, you're pretty screwed. But we didn't have a place to go. So that's what we did. Anyway, we got down here. Here's the amazing campsite at the bottom of the board. Everybody's in the semicircle. There's one on the promontory. So we're all set up, and I wander back to the kitchen where the guys can see what's going on. So the guy appears out of this tent with a rifle. I'd never seen that rifle before, so I went up to him and said, why have you got the rifle? He said, oh, it's just a precaution, because this is the campsite, the polar bear came into last year. I said, that's very comforting. So I have one more shot of the Soper Falls campsite. Let's see where I am. All right, so now here we go. So now we're on, this is Kimmerer. So this is the end of our trip. So the deal was, I can't remember why we couldn't sleep in Kimmerer, but we couldn't. So we set up camp 20, 30 minutes away, another camp, and we went into Kimmerer for a dinner. So now this is the 400 people in Kimmerer. So we have set up camp, we walk in, and the event 8. I'm walking down the hill, and I see somebody down working, and he's carving, a soap carving. I didn't seem to be fine, so I went over to the top of it and I said, that's really nice, or beautiful, I said. Are you a soap carver? I said, no. I said, do you live in Kimmerer? He said, no, I live in Iqaluit. I said, oh, so you're up in Kimmerer to learn how to do soap carving. He says, no, I'm up here to finish my sentence. I said, oh, okay. That one too often. I don't know if it was domestic abuse, it was alcohol, or everything. He was up there to finish his sentence. So we kept going in one more. Now, I call this the Road Hill. There are 400 people living there. Up on the left side, you see the beginning of the road, and up on the right side, you just about see the end of the road. You can't go any farther. So the entertainment and the diversion for the kids and the adults with their huge pickups, they drive from one end of the road to nowhere to the other end, you turn around and you come back. Now this is all day long, all the time. Meantime, back at the ranch, a lot of those houses have huge satellite dishes. So they know what's going on in the rest of the road, that's what they do. So now this turns out to be interesting. There was one church there. There was Truth and Reconciliation. It takes on a whole different connotation, but I took a picture of it because it just happened to be there. And here's one end of the road to nowhere with some equipment. And here, so we're going to have dinner in somebody's home, an Inuit person's home in Kimmerer. This are 4 pictures. A little baby. I'll come to the fellow on the way in a minute. Our Inuit guy who's recovered. And you can see what the exposure to the sun has done to his face, or with the protection. And then I'll come to the bus. So the person on the right is a federal civil servant who travels around to all the little outposts in the north. He travels around to consult with, look after the Inuit people, the sweat lodges, and whatever issues they might have. I can't remember what was his title, but everybody called him Uncle. Well, I was a little weird. I said, this guy's out of the best gig known to mankind. But anyway, that's fine. Bottom left, mother and daughter cutting beluga. It's too small to see, but it's the tool that goes back and forth. So they were cutting up beluga, and we all tried it. It was pretty chewy, but it was okay. So here, behind that drum, which I think I have a name to, it's a quill out. That's Uncle with the blue shirt. The green shirt is somebody from our trip. So he has asked her to come up there behind the quill out, and he's tapping in and talking. I don't know what he was saying. I don't know what he was doing. But when she left that, she was a mess. Tears coming down her face. Whatever happened, it was an experience for her. And as you can see on the right, that's my buddy Al. He's so mesmerized, he's fast asleep. So now we're back at Kimmeroot. Kimmeroot is the place that we're going to take off from to go back to Callaway. So the guide comes to Al and I, and he said, okay, this is what's going to happen. We're going to break camp. We're going to go down close to the town of Kimmeroot. And you guys really worked pretty hard. You did a lot, setting up the kitchen and all that stuff. I want you out on the first of 2 aircraft. Take all the bags with you and wait for us at the airport. The rest of us are going to stay here and disassemble all the canoes, because that's how they fly them back. Well, that's okay. And he said, the rest of the trip, we're all going to get there late this afternoon. You're on your own for the rest of the day. Check into the hotel. Have a hot shower, which after 8 days is a good thing. Tomorrow, we'll explore in Callaway. And tomorrow night, we'll have a farewell banquet for the trip. Got that? And then we'll fly back. Everybody happy? Yeah, okay. So here we are at Kimmeroot Airport. The next one shows the pickup. That's all our stuff being loaded onto the aircraft that Al and I and the second guy from Maine was taking back. This is just one of the Twin Otters landing or taking off from Kimmeroot. So, here we are at the Callaway Airport. So, event 9. Halfway back to Callaway, I have a brainwave. So I said to Al, I said, listen, my friends, we have been on this trip, which was a wonderful trip. We've had great experiences. But the bottom line is, we're never going to see these people again. So we have rocked around the Callaway. I said, do we really want to spend tonight and tomorrow and leave the next day? Or shall I try to get us on an earlier flight? Well, Al's a little bit reticent about this, but I convinced him. He said, all right, I'll go. So we went to the Callaway Airport, and we unpacked the plane, obviously. Then I took our luggage, and I said, okay, let me go. I got 2 seats that afternoon to Ottawa. Al says to me, he said, well, I can't get on the aircraft if I don't wash. So I said, okay, wash. So he goes into the men's washroom at the Callaway Airport, and one of the great scenes I remember is here's Al, stripped down to his shorts, standing in front of the sink, people coming in, people going out. I have no idea what they were thinking, but the result was pretty good. He got cleaned up. The mope on the right did not bother. I combed my hair, and that was good enough. Anyway, off we go. Fly out, perfect. Get a newspaper on the trip back to Ottawa. I'm reading through it. Kayaker dies on Ottawa River. Okay. So I said, let me read that. We just came back from a bit of an adventure on the Soper River. So I read it. And the story was that there's a person who annually left Cornwall in his kayak, down the St. Lawrence River, hang left to the Lake Erie Mountains, back up the Ottawa River, Kingston, back down to St. Lawrence, back to Cornwall. So I said, well, I know a guy that does that, and I only know of one. Sure enough, my cousin's husband was the guy. as the story develops, he died doing what he loved. Like he was on the river near Hudson, actually. Lots of people around him. So he must have had a massive heart attack. Over he goes, and he's there. People didn't know, was he trying to do what we used to call the Eskimo roll, or was it serious? By the time they got to him, he was dead. So, no further events. So down we go. Al goes to Ottawa, I go to Montreal. 2 or 3 days later, I said, I gotta find out how to do it all then, because we left early. So I called the outfitters in Maine, and they said, yes, we understand why you went. That was fine. I said, well, how did the trip go? She said, well, the planes arrived, and the group explored California the next day, and they had a dinner that night. During the night, there was a snowstorm. So no flights out of Iqaluit the following day. And the snowstorm persisted. No flights out of Iqaluit the following day. They finally got out the third day. So I said, what a Rourke. That was one of your better ideas there. Sitting around Iqaluit doing nothing for 4 days wasn't terribly appealing. So what about it then? These are just some of the reflections I have. I mean, I can't describe enough the beauty of the North. I learned, again, I've been on a few excursions, you just don't mess around with nature. It's way, way too powerful. Challenge it, don't behave, you got a problem. Al said it was a life-changing event. Yeah, in many ways it does, because the memories for me are still pretty vivid. That's 20 years ago. So, I don't know what the people, I don't care what the people other than Al, but seeing that part of our country was phenomenal. Would I do it again? Absolutely, I'd do it again, but unfortunately, I'm getting on in years, I could not do it again. Physically, it would not be possible for me to do that trip again. So I'm really glad that I did it when I did it. So now it's getting on to 1:45. We have a bit of time. Anybody has any comments? Anybody have any questions? Forget Michael. Yeah.
Question. What do you mean by assembling and disassembling the canoes, and how are the canoes transported?
So, when we got to